Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, this effort to end fire borrowing seems like the longest-running battle since the Trojan War. I mean, we've been at this since before I was chair of this committee. And for colleagues, I mean, shorthand, this is about raiding the prevention fund in order to fight fire. I was very pleased that our chair, Senator Murkowski, has talked about this. Senator Cantwell talked about it. And I think everybody knows in this room, getting to yes on forestry policy is a really heavy lift. It is a real challenge, and you've got to have a bipartisan approach. And I think by way of trying to get this going this year, Chief, how important is it to you to have the bipartisan leadership of this committee get with the bipartisan leadership in the House, start working with all of you? So we're going through the regular order. We're using the committees, the bipartisan leadership here, the bipartisan leadership in the House, but we're going to get out of the gates. I mean, we're now at, I think, 20 bipartisan Senate co-sponsors, 145 bipartisan members of the House, 260 groups. And I just want to find a way, working with my colleagues, with the bipartisan leadership of both bodies, to get this going. How important is it to you that that start quickly?
You know, Senator, it's essential, and it's not just for me. This is essential for the American public. Almost every question that I get asked, and they're all very good questions, I would have a different answer if we would have been able to fix this a few years ago. When I think about the additional funding we've had to keep putting into this 10-year average, and I think about what could we have done with another $237 million to be able to address the recreation needs, the roads needs, to be proactive with forest management, to address more hazardous fuels. I understand how difficult this is, but it's essential we find a solution. When I asked our folks last year, I said, what happens if if this keeps going? In 2025, 67% of our budget. Last year when I was up here, we were talking 50. In FY16, it's 56%. There's got to be a solution, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's gone into it. And I understand it's difficult, because if it was easy, it would have been done a long, long time ago. But it's essential that we find a way, and we are committed to work with the Senate, work with the House, to be able to find a solution. Your bill definitely is one of those solutions. There's other good ideas out there too, and we're committed to be able to work with that, to find something that's actually durable. You know, you passed the FLAME Act a few years ago. I was up here applauding that. It looked good. It didn't work for a lot of good reasons. So I appreciate the ranking member's, the chair's comment about this needs to be durable. And we've been at it for a long time, so let's find a way to be able to do it so that it isn't something we revisit in a couple of years.
I appreciate that answer, and you clearly indicated that you're open to a variety of approaches. As the chair noted, and something that I've long agreed with, we've got to have active management. There's no question about that. We also have to find a way to get this done, because this makes a mockery out of the Forest Service budget, which is probably a little bit more colorful way to say what you've been saying, and other people in the Forest Service have been saying it for years. So we're going to do everything we can through the leadership on both sides of the Capitol to work with you and to get this done. And I know Senator Crapo, who's been with me on this, feels the same way. One last point, use up the rest of my time. I want to thank you for the good work that your folks have been doing in Portland. They have done some exceptional work that, as you know, involves tree moss. And we've had some really serious public health questions. I live in Southeast Portland. It's not directly in my neighborhood, but not that far away. And people are really concerned about the risk of these toxic metals that relate to industrial work done in the community. It looks like there are some big gaps in EPA clean air law. I've said they look to me like gaps the size of a lunar crater, but none of it really would have come to light without the groundbreaking research that your people have done. So I'm almost out of time, but are you going to need additional funds in order to continue this research into the future?
Well, Senator, it's just another example of how important our research and development branch is, to be able to develop the science, to do the studies, to be able to not only identify problems, but more important, to find those solutions. And it's one of the things that I think it's essential that we find ways to be able to maintain our research and development budget. When I look at where we were back in the mid-'80s, we had like over 1,100 scientists, and we have much over less than half of that today. And our scientists are doing a better job to be, working with universities, et cetera. But it just shows you really the power, the benefit of science. So this is one example to identify a problem, but I can tell you it's also, it leads us to finding the solution, to be able to use, vegetation, be able to use our forests, to provide that clean air, that clean water. That is the solutions that come out of science.
Thank you, Madam Chair.